All right. Hello, hello. Okay. So I've gotten some more questions, some pretty loaded questions about, oh my goodness, how do you home educate for preschool? What curriculums do you use? Um, how do you educate boys? Boys are different than girls. Newsflash. So yeah, I'm happy to share. And I know I did a short live yesterday and talked a little bit about just like the goals, my goals, our goals with preschool, and like what our main focuses are. So it's way less about curriculum and more about overarching themes and goals and vision for what we're wanting to create a learning environment in the home for children to love to learn. Like, kids are naturally inquisitive, and so we want to feed into that when they're tiny and making school fun and a really enriching learning experience for them. And I promised I would show you like the different pockets and places that I have in my house for different like pre-reading activities and just enriching things that help grow their brains, right? So in terms of educating boys, let me just talk about that for a second. You've got to keep the short lessons short. It is so interesting, and after a string of boys, it's been really interesting to have a little girl who's, I can already tell, like she's way more focused. She'll sit and work on something for a long time. She's, even from a tiny age was holding her pen and pencil and crayons correctly. I didn't have to teach her a lot of those things, and it's just way less labor intensive for me, at least with the type of girls that I've had so far, than boys. I felt like with some of my toddler boys, it was a mercy that I finally found something that would occupy them for longer than 30 seconds. Literally, all they would do while I was trying to educate our other kids was dump stuff. That's all they did. They didn't even play with what they dumped. And I would have like this huge aftermath. It was just, that was a really kind of hard, stressful season of homeschooling. Trying to home educate when you have babies and toddlers, and certain types of toddlers that just are not interested in much for very long, unless you're sitting right there with them, directing every step of their play so they don't make a disaster. So yeah, that's a hard season. But I did find Play-Doh when William was about 3. We discovered that he would sit and play with that for a long time. Kinetic sand is another one. It does make a really big mess, way bigger mess than Play-Doh. But those were two biggies that were lifesavers, because they would sit and play with those for longer than other things. Then we kind of graduated onto like Duplos and some of those building toys that my younger kids have ended up loving and will sit for a long time and build stuff. But I do think the key to extended attention on a particular toy is to not overwhelm with too many toys or too many tubs of things. Just give them one tub and say, hey, we're going to play Lincoln Logs, and set the timer, whatever, 30 minutes or an hour. And like, we're just going to play with Lincoln Logs. And then we pick that up. And then, maybe the next day we're going to do Duplos during school time. I actually made a little list when Benjamin was tiny. Let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, it's right here. I made a little list of the things that I was having him do. He was 4, and this is what I wrote down. So Bible time would include prayer. We had like this Voice of the Martyrs prayer map and a calendar that we went off of. Singing old and new hymns. So I would just teach my kids we would have like a hymn of the month, and I would teach them songs. Character training, which was always with a little booklet of some sort. It usually was like a coloring page and a scripture memory verse. We did little Bible binders. I was doing that with the big kids, so my little kids did them also. There was no curriculum besides the KJV Bible, and we just marched through chapter by chapter, read a chapter, and the kids would draw a picture of what they learned about, and then we write a little sentence underneath to summarize. And if they were too little for the sentence, then they would just they would tell me what they learned about, and then I would write it down for them. And then scripture memory during mealtime, because those are great anchor points to work on scripture memory. And then, let me set this down for a minute. Okay, and then school time. Oh, when I was doing school with Maddie and William, Benjamin at age 4 had a few options. I had these magnetic letters that would be on my refrigerator and like a bucket of them, so he could play with those. Flashcards. colors and shapes. So there's lots of like preschool learning toys if you just go on Amazon, or I don't know if they still have teacher stores in bigger cities, but those might be a fun place to go find, preschool type activities. Puzzles, which I actually just went through and organized all of the puzzles. So they are organized. It's not a big just pile of pieces and boards. So getting organized with your toys is definitely half the battle. Coloring, that's easy. Writing in like flour or salt, just dump a bunch of flour out on a cookie sheet and let them like spell their name or spell certain letters. I did do preschool workbooks. I think I talked about this in the last video, but my curriculum is like shoestring curriculum. Like I'm not spending tons of money on curriculum when they're preschool age, and it's anything that you can buy at Walmart, Costco, any store like that would have little booklets for like pre-K, preschool activities. I mean, they think it's fun to do a little bit of school, right? If the big kids are doing it. And then I had assigned toys of the day or of the week. So I had a little list. So Legos, Lincoln Logs, blocks, train set, books. And these were like in tubs so that I could put them up when we weren't doing school. Zoobs, octagons, puzzles, animals, bristle blocks. My kids loved those Schleich animals you can get like from Rule King. So I would just have a big tub of those. We'd play animals. They'd set them up and play Narnia and just different things. Bristle blocks. What was the other? Oh, Magnetile. So if you haven't, you might have to like beef up your arsenal of pre-K stuff. Also, I have a little shelf in here. I organized everything earlier last month. So all of the coloring books and more coloring books and just different, there's like sticker pages. You can get a lot of lovely things at the grocery store to entertain littles. Okay, another question I had was, okay, so educating boys. Yeah, basically you can't expect a marathon. Like boys are going to have short spurts of educational sitting in a chair time, and then they need to go out and play. So you might have to break your school day up into like shorter chunks, or like what I was having Gabe do. If you have like one of those big inflatable bouncy balls that they can bounce on, like while they're doing their math facts, or they're standing up, like you have to get so creative with boys. Maybe you're gonna have them go run around the house 10 times, and then come back, and then we'll do phonics, or then we'll practice our reading. And when they were little, honestly, I didn't have a big school list. So here's Gabriel's kindergarten list. So obviously we did Bible together as a family. Math was just beginning math facts and writing numbers. And I'll show you in a minute, but manipulatives, always manipulatives. And if I didn't have the manipulative box with me, then it was like markers, or we're counting pencils, just because at that age, things have to be visual. They have to be visual. And I would say with littles, you're wanting to blend in all the modes of learning. So kinesthetic, visual, and oral. And a lot of times, in regular school settings, it's a lot of oral learning, and not all kids learn that way. Some are learn very well from just oral instructions. Other kids need to see it. Other kids need to feel it. And I would say, regardless of what type of learning mode is your kind of natural gifting of receiving instruction, we all still benefit from the visual piece and the kinesthetic piece. That's my opinion. And then I kept it really basic. Writing was just like with a little booklet. I actually love the reason for handwriting through Timberdoodle. There's scriptures where they're learning to print or do cursive. You can get those through Timberdoodle. Probably Amazon too now. But those were great because then there's a reason for writing. So they have their little practice that they do each week. And then at the end of the week, they're tracing the whole scripture. And then there's a stationary page in the back where it's like there's a coloring stationary thing that they can color and then put their scripture on. It's aligned, like nicely lined, and then they can give it to someone. So I feel like it makes a little extra up leveling for working on our handwriting and doing a good job, because then we're like going to gift it to grandma or the neighbor next door or someone, and it blesses someone else, because, they get a little treat. And then I used 100 easy lessons, how to teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons for teaching reading. There's probably better methods. I don't know. But that's what I used. That's what my mom used. And it worked for most of my kids. I've had to pull in some resources with some of my younger boys because we had some struggling readers, and it was a longer process. But anyways, my mom actually said when she was teaching my brother to read, she actually didn't do anything else. That was the only thing that he was working on at that point, because because it took a lot of energy and a lot of effort for him. And I've noticed with my boys, they don't struggle with math. Like, math comes easy. It's fun for them. The reading part has been definitely more labor intensive. And I know some kids teach themselves to read. And so that process is very seamless for some people. Not the case for my people. And that's fine. That's just, what it took. But usually I would get about halfway into that 100 Easy Lessons book, and then, or even 3/4 of the way. And then the lessons just became way longer, and we'd have to go back like 25 lessons or more. Or what I started to do was just get a bunch of those easy reading books. And they almost felt like it was more of an accomplishment to read through one of those little booklets than sit there with like a whole page. Just the visual of the entire page of reading when you're learning to decode, and it's a really slow process. So I did kind of morph into more of the little reading booklets, just to get wins under their belt where they felt accomplished. And it was like 5 little pages, and there's a picture on each page, So anyways, keeping it very, very simple for boys and tons of outdoor play. Like, boys need so much outdoor play. So we do a lot of outdoor free play, and it's perfect. Okay, I got a question about arts, music, and PE. That, to me, those subjects are totally woven into what you're doing, and you can easily, like, with intentionality, add those in. If you're a crafting mom, do crafts. Weave art into what you're doing. I love crafts, but my boys didn't love crafts, so I was kind of disappointed when they were tiny and they didn't like crafts. So that was kind of a bummer. Music has 1,000% been a priority for us, and so I started teaching my kids piano when they were like 4, 5, 6 years old. The more kids I've had, the later I've waited, because and if you're a music instructor, like, you can totally teach your kids from an earlier age, but I would not go pay for lessons when they're 4. They can learn so much faster once they're reading, because once they're reading, then they have an attention span. They know how to focus. They can, do the left to right thing. But I do think it's good to expose your kids to good quality music. So if you can just, honestly, you can pull up YouTube videos at this point. You don't even have to go get CDs or whatever. But I do love, like, classical music all the way, 1,000%. Good worship music. But yeah, Mozart, Brahms, Scarlatti, Schubert, Bach, Handel, Vivaldi, Haydn. Those are all great ones. And you can actually just look up on YouTube and pull up even classical music for studying, and have it playing in your home. Like, when the kids wake up in the morning, have it on the speakers and have it playing. And the way that music is organized is, like, so good for kids' brains. So good. And it exposes them to, like, great music. PE, yeah, same. My kids are all in sports and have always been very active. So trampoline, jump roping, bike riding, scooters, like that, those are necessary breaks in your day and totally count as PE in my book. And same with any sort of organized sport. So I don't overthink PE. The kids are getting it, because that's what they're doing when they're not doing school. The question about, am I doing everything I should be doing? Yes, that is one of the overarching, probably hardest things that I think as a homeschool mom or homeschool dad, teacher, is, are we doing enough? Are we grade level? Are we hitting the mark? And honestly, you may have some kids that are above grade level, and that's a whole nother, not hardship, but that's a whole nother ball of wax in and of itself, to, like, challenge a really gifted kid. And that's the beauty of homeschooling too, is, like, you can roll with a kid that's way beyond their grade level. You may also have some kids that do struggle along. And at the end of the day, when they're all graduating high school, or when they're all 35 and launched into their careers or launched into the businesses that they have, are we really going to know who struggled to read when they were 6? Probably not. Are we really going to know who struggled through high school algebra or whatever it was, right? So there is a level of, sometimes you do have a struggling learner, but that's the beauty of being able to homeschool, because you can sit on a topic or sit on a subject for longer if you need to. And there's no box necessarily. I do think it's good. You can Google this too, or there's homeschool resources. I have a lot of my mom's books too. But now everything's like online, so you can literally just Google, like each grade and kind of the objectives that you want to be looking for. So that way you're not like flying blind, feeling like, well, what should my kid know by the time they finish kindergarten? What should my kid know when they finish first or second or third grade? And that's also where good curriculum will come in to help you also. I'm pretty eclectic with my curriculum as they launch into like formal school, but that's where, you can get, my alarm keeps going off. You can get boxed sets of like first grade curriculum, second grade curriculum, third grade curriculum. And that really covers your basis of what they need to be knowing at that certain age. Yeah, but the model is way different because yes, it's like entrepreneurship applied to education, educating your kids, and it is a huge responsibility, nothing to be taken lightly. It is a privilege, and I encourage people, if you're going to homeschool, like you've got to actually homeschool your kids. Like you need to be 1,000% committed to that. It is a huge commitment. It's a job. It is a job. So yeah, I would also encourage you, if you're new to homeschooling, or if you're thinking about homeschooling, or if you're starting, your kids are tiny and you're planning to homeschool, get to homeschool conferences every year. Illinois has a fantastic one up in Kankakee. It's hosted at the Olivet Christian College up there, and it's fantastic. There's also a Southern Illinois one in March, I believe. But if you go to the Illinois Homeschool Home Educators Facebook page, or even just their website, it's iche.org, I believe, you can see the dates of the conference, and it's fantastic. I don't go every single year, but I try to go every couple years, and especially when the kids were tinier. It's just such good encouragement. The vendor hall is fantastic. You'll be able to look through and, see different resources that you can utilize. And I've gotten a lot of good books, just good reading books at homeschool conferences. So yeah, I got a question about focus on the first few years. So when they're in the kindergarten or pre-K, like we're working on pre-reading skills, learning how to write, how to count. So basic, very, very basic things that can be taught in the course of the day, as long as you're intentional to focus on those things. And then first and second grade, like when my kids are younger, like honestly, we focus on basic math facts and learning how to read. Those are like the two big things. And yes, they were all doing piano lessons. They all play outside or played a sport. So there's enriching things outside of that, but I keep it very, very basic when they're tiny. The 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. So keeping those very, very basic. But where's I have them over here. So for example, like Gabriel is 3rd grade right now. And so we have these grooved handwriting tablet things that are fantastic. What is the company? Let me see if I can find the company, or I can link it. They're fantastic. I bought some for Abigail too. And they have these little magic pens that erase, so they're reusable, which is fantastic. So this is Grooved Handwriting Workbook by Graceful Designs. And a friend of mine linked them to her Instagram stories, and I bought them right off of her recommendation. But they're fantastic. So those are great. He's doing rod and staff, phonics and reading. And yes, it's 1st grade. He's 3rd grade. I don't care. It's a little bit easy for him, but I want to make sure that we're solid on our phonics and our reading comprehension. And it doesn't take him as long. Like the reading passage is pretty short, but I'm okay with picking out what he's doing, and he'll be through this probably before the end of the semester. So to me, it's like review, refresher. And then Daniel has like a phonics books that he's working from. He has a spelling list that he works off of. We do teaching textbooks for math. I just put them all in that this year. But when they're littler, I do a Becca workbook for math. It's colorful, it's fun, it's engaging, and it teaches the basics. So yeah. Okay. So those are some of the questions that I got. If you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I can help answer those questions. I was going to show you guys this. I pulled this out of my Brain in the Binder booklet that I was showing you guys. But this was the school year of 2011, 2012. Samuel was 6, William was 4, Maddie was 3, Benjamin was 6 months old. And so I just made the objectives so that I would have like a clear goal of what I wanted to be doing. So my objectives were to give the children the word, read it and memorize it, teach them to read, spell, write, and understand numbers, teach them to work hard with cheerfulness, allow them to be creative, develop strong bodies through exercise and work. And I do think that is really important. Like there's some kids that we've like had as students for music lessons, and I don't think kids are getting enough outside play. They're on video games and they're inside. And kids need to be outside playing. It will help their bones, their muscle structure, their creativity. The eye doctor was even saying like how bad it is for kids to be on screens so much and to be inside all the time. And when she heard that I homeschooled my kids, she's like, "Oh, that's so good for their eyes." I mean, amongst other things, but she's like, natural sunlight in your eyes is so important. It helps set circadian rhythms. As a middle-aged 42-year-old mom, like I know that it helps with so much, just in light of resetting your natural body rhythms and getting you out of fight or flight, and making sure that your cortisol is where it needs to be. Like just breathing fresh air, getting sunlight in your eyes, like really important. Anyways, side note. All right, learn to be peacemakers and get along well with each other. Peace, not strife. Developing good character and strength of spirit. So anyways, yeah. And then I had just a daily little flow. And honestly, my daily routine is so much similar that to now. The biggest thing is that I just did school from we did breakfast time, and then school time was like 9 a.m. till lunchtime. And then that we were done. And then I synced my kids, 1 to 3:30 was nap time. And when they phased out of naps, and it was just quiet resting time, and they could play Legos quietly, they could listen to stories. Oh my word, I have so many audiobooks. So if you have not started to invest in audiobooks and scripture CDs and things that are going to be enriching to your kids orally, do it. I knew that I wanted my kids to develop imaginations, and I didn't want them watching a bunch of movies. So I developed the quiet resting time where they got to listen to a story, and it was fun for them. And I thought it was a blast, and they learned so much about Bible history, and by listening to all those audiobooks. So anyways, that's just a side note. Here's Abigail's little schedule. So she's pre-K right now. So Bible memory and Bible stories, that's with us at breakfast time, and also during my group time with my boys, my younger boys. She's sitting there learning with us too. Half the time, I don't know if she's listening, but she's there. She's there. She's not throwing markers anymore. She's not 2, so that's helpful. Handwriting, I'm doing the grooved handwriting booklets. I can show you that in a minute. Reading with me. So I have carved out a little pocket of time. We're not like everyday consistent, because sometimes my afternoons I'm doing other things, but I've been trying to establish a quiet resting time for her. And so she and I will sit in her bed with a stack of books and just read. And if I can encourage you moms with littler kids, read. Go to the library, make sure you have a library card, ask for books for the kids' birthdays, and just read to them. And don't quit reading to them just because they can read. Like I mean, all the way up through high school even. I read to my teenagers still. We both do. Justin and I both do. And so it's important. Like it's so important. Anyways, I carved out that little time. And so about 20, 30 minutes we read together. And then I make her stay in her room for another 20, 30 minutes to have just to learn to rest and to have a little break from her brothers, because I noticed that, 4 or 5 p.m. in the evenings, like she was like so grabby with the boys. And I think it was just too much. You need a little quiet space away from the brothers every once in a while. So anyways, she actually doesn't like to be alone, I've noticed, but I've been making her do it because I know it's important for her development, for her discipline, and I've just required it. And so it's interesting when you set the boundary. I mean, they will definitely try to push the limit and not want to do it. But then once they realize that you're unyielding, they will be like, okay, well, and then at nighttime, I have a bedtime routine with her, and we read more books. So my preschool stuff with her looks a little bit different than when I had like 1, 2, 3 kids, of just my older kids, because now I feel like my time and my brain space and bandwidth is divided amongst more children and educating. But I feel like if we can carve out those pockets with our younger kids, it's still, I mean, it's important for their development. And also it gives that one-on-one time. And a lot of times they're not as needy when we're needing to concentrate on another kid to help them with their schoolwork. Anyways, counting and math, reading with me. She does like our unit studies with us. So science, history, literature. So each late morning I meet with my younger boys and we do history, science, some character books, Bible memory. We have a read aloud usually that we do. Sometimes our read aloud we bump to nighttime. So she's in on those unit studies with the older kids. And then she does a lot of free play and she does a lot of crafts. So go to the store, go to Walmart, get tons of crafty type stuff for your pre-K toddler peeps. Music and PE. So yeah, she doesn't do formal music yet. I thought about starting her on violin for about 5 seconds and I'm like, we're not doing that yet. I'm not ready to stay that consistent and committed, but I think I'm probably going to start her on violin first and then piano will follow. But I would like her to be doing 2 instruments just like Maddie did. My boys I have not done string instruments with, I thought that I would, but I still may with my younger boys. I didn't start viola till I was 10. And there are perks, and all the kids have a foundation with piano. So I feel like that is a great place to start musically. And then you can always launch into other instruments when they're older. And a lot of times, like if they have the desire to learn a different instrument, they'll excel so fast, just because they're older and the want to is there. And there are certain things that they already know. They understand rhythm. They understand how to read music. There's just some basics that they already know. So anyways, okay. What else did I put on here? So music exposure, yeah, start early with music exposure, but I don't think that you have to go pay for lessons when they're 4. I personally wouldn't do that. But I've started my kids young. Also, anything that is set to music, scripture is so much easier to learn when it's set to music, and it's fantastic. So I can give you guys resources if you want, but Steve Green, Hide 'Em in Your Heart, scripture CDs, Donut Man, Patch the Pirate, like there's so many great resources that you can use for learning scripture, and it's easy. It's way easier when it's set to music. I would say, I was thinking about this in the middle of the night for whatever reason, but young kids thrive off of routine, like having the sameness every single day brings stability. So like the same cup, the same, morning routine. And to homeschool, my mom has said this for years too, to homeschool, you got to stay home. So anyways, that goes without saying. But yeah, I feel like so much of what we do is life schooling. Yes, there's academics, but especially when they're tiny, it's working right alongside you with what you're doing in the kitchen, and you're talking to them the whole time you're doing it. While you're making blueberry muffins, you're talking to them about measuring, and you're teaching them fractions and how to measure and pour and stir, and you're tying heartstrings while you're doing it, So tons of opportunities all the time. I did write this quote down from my little booklet that I've been reviewing. I referenced this on the other video, but this early learning little book. She said, talking to your children is the single most significant prerequisite to character and language development in younger children. So talk, read. Just live life with your kids. Like that's a huge piece of the preschool years. And then I think the main focus, like what I've been talking about, like chart the course, like just pre-decide like what you want them to be focused on, what you want to be focusing on with them, and then just be really intentional with your time to make sure you're carving out time in your day to do that. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of things that I have. So I have my little pocket here with coloring books. And then I have another little spot in my kitchen that I just created. I used to have it above my ovens, but now I actually put it down low so she could get to it. And here's these grooved handwriting workbooks, highly recommend. You can find the lady on Instagram. And then I have like a basket of stuff. So there's, like little painting things that she can do, coloring things, kinetic sand, these little dot to dot thingies. Those are super fun. So I have a little, any sort of watercolors. And then I have another little, sometimes we just create spots. So like if we're all down here doing school, like she doesn't want to be upstairs by herself or in another location. So I have a area here. I thought I would just show you guys. Let me turn this around. So in terms of curriculum, like literally you can go and get books like this from Costco or Walmart. and they're little whiteboards that are reusable. They're fantastic. Math manipulatives. I mean, they think it's super fun to play with, but anytime you're teaching math, always be using something that they can visually count and like hold in their hands. I love these journals. We use these for Bible time. And that's what I've done with the big kids too, is like we march through just chapter by chapter and they illustrate what I read to them. And then we write a little summary. If they can't write yet, then they just dictate what they learned about and I write the sentence summary for them. I just found these on Amazon, and this is what we're doing for our nature notebooks. So for science, we're learning about different insects and animals. So I'm having them illustrate, and then they have to write a little summary. And so I love these little booklets. So I got her some so she can follow along and do them also. So anyway, that's for older kids a little bit. And then this is a character book that I used with my older kids, and I pulled it back out, and it's very simple. And I mean, toddlers can track along with it too. So it's like each week we focus on a different character lesson. I make my older kids write, the little boys, I make them write the definition on a note card, and then each day there's a different story that illustrates the character lesson that we're learning. So yeah. So anyways, that's that. I love focusing on character, proactive training. Again, more booklets that you can get. I think they got this at the Amish dry goods store. So any little booklets like this. This is a Costco booklet, grooved writing practice. This is a really fun thing where it's magnetic. So it has this magnetic pen, and it has these little bubble things. So anything like that, just to help them learn how to make their letters, is super fun. And then, wiki sticks. Oh my word, so fun. So what we're gonna do today is use our little wiki sticks to make the letters.
No, these are Daniel's wiki sticks.
Those are Daniel's.
The blue
okay.
Ones.
All right. Fun markers. These are like shapes and like little puzzles and stuff. I have opposite game with puzzles. Oh, bananagrams. Fun for working on spelling words. I made this little cutting exercise so she could practice her cutting with her scissors. Cutting shapes out. Oh, we do math with dice so she can learn how to count and add small numbers. We've been doing that. And then, yeah, that's how you do it. You put these around, and we might have to cut them too to make, yep. So F is for remember what sound it makes?
Fish.
Yeah, F is for fish. And so I try to work on the actual sounds, not just the letter names, as I'm teaching too. So, anywho, I think that was everything. Oh my word, I didn't mean to talk this long, but since you guys asked, that's basically what we do for preschool. So, here she like literally just woke up and she's already working on stuff, aren't you? And while the kids are doing school things, I mean, she's had fun working on this booklet. There's like stickers, and we did this together yesterday. Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't write them.
And then we've been starting to work. All right. Anyways, I've talked long enough. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have more questions, let me know. Happy to share more. All right. Cheers to preschool, pre-K, helping them learn the basics. And maybe I'll do another part. What would it be? Part 4 to talk about curriculum with older kids. I can totally do that too. So anyways, hopefully this was helpful. You can actually double speed these videos. So cheers.